At Luka Doncic. Without LeBron James, Jason Tatum, now without Jaylen Brown. Who has the most pressure on him this season to perform without his former superstar teammate?
That's easy, Courtney. That's easy, and it's a no-brainer. It's Luka Doncic. There's no other player in the NBA that's under the amount of pressure like Luka to deliver a championship to Los Angeles in the next 2 to 3 years. Make no mistake about it. Luka Doncic is the one driving the car now. Luka Doncic is the one calling the shots. Luka Doncic is the one telling Rob Pelinka and Jimmy Butts what he wants and what he needs. We're talking about a guy, ever since he stepped foot in the NBA, has been doing nothing but being one of the best offensive players in the game. Led the league in scoring last year. Was traded from the Dallas Mavericks after help taking them to the NBA Finals. Luka Doncic has to get it done. He's the international superstar, and his window is not like everyone else's. When you look at the thread that's on those tires, and I get it, it's on the showroom floor, Luka Doncic's window is probably 3 to 4 years of playing at this level, because we know his body type is a lot different than everyone else. And Victor Wembanyama and SGA and Anthony Edwards in the tough Western Conference is not going anywhere. And when you look at what Rob Pelinka did yesterday, he channeled his young Miami. He spent that, and he went and got that. He went and got the pieces that Luka need, that I believe that the Lakers are going to be the best offensive team in the league. Yeah, they got work to do for us, what they got to do defensively, but offensively, there was a serious upgrade. LeBron James have now departed. That divorce is finalized, and now all of a sudden, Luka Doncic, he has to go out there and get it done.
Hurt, I feel you. I know Pelinka went in that go-yard bag and got some help for Luka Doncic, and I know that Lakers jersey, I know it weighs a lot, and I know you're supposed to win a championship. You don't want to be the first star that does not bring a championship to Los Angeles. But given what we heard yesterday, given what happened with Boston yesterday, this is all about Jason Tatum. Because I firmly do believe that if he jumped in front of that car and said, do not trade Jaylen Brown does not move out of Boston. And for sure, Jason Tatum, if he says, do not get Jaylen Brown out here to a rival and bring me back Paul George and a pick that I may not even really get to play with in a few years, that wouldn't happen. So now everybody's going to look at you, Jason Tatum, whether it's fair or not, and they are going to say, can you do what Jaylen Brown did last season, which was make us the second best team in the Eastern Conference without that star? Can you go up there and prove all of these analytics people right, that this team is better without Jaylen Brown? Because now we're looking at you. And if you start to struggle with that Boston team, having given away the Finals MVP and the guy who was in the MVP conversation all last season without you, and you're not better than that, we're going to be looking at Jason Tatum a little crazy.
Jason Tatum is the champion. Jason Tatum has gone to multiple NBA Finals, multiple Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum is also coming off an Achilles injury. Luka Doncic plays for the Los Angeles Lakers and was on a team with LeBron James, and they told LeBron James, thanks but no thanks. Luka Doncic is the player who we've questioned about his fitness. Luka Doncic is a player who was traded from Dallas to LA because there were questions about his fitness and his basketball character. We don't really have questions about Jason Tatum's basketball character. And Jason Tatum did not force Jaylen Brown out of Boston. That was a Brad Stevens operation. That's an ownership operation. That was not a Jason Tatum stepping in and saying, I can't play with this dude anymore. Jason Tatum doesn't even move like that. So Luka Doncic, though, when you go and trade all your future draft capital, the Lakers don't have a single speck of draft capital. I think they have one first-round pick that belongs to them over the next 7 years. You traded all your first-round draft capital for Walker Kessler because Luka Doncic needed a lob threat. You got Austin Reeves, $45 million a year because Luka Doncic needed a running mate. All the moves that the Lakers made yesterday were in the name of not the Lakers, but were in the name of Luka Doncic and what makes him comfortable in fulfilling this timeline. What the Celtics did yesterday was about the Celtics, not about Jason Tatum.
Perk, that big three in LA, Kessler, Reeves, Doncic. I know you're saying that the pressure's now on Luka Doncic to go win a championship. Is that big three capable of winning a championship as the team's currently constructed?
Look, I think, no, not this year, but I think as they continue to grow over the next 2 or 3 years, yes, they're capable of bringing the title back to Los Angeles. And I know a lot of people out there in the world are not familiar with Walker Kessler in his game. but he was one of the best live threats in the league last year. When it comes to him applying pressure and not backing down from anyone, go look at his numbers. When he had to go against any of the top bigs, he held his own. This man is a really good / on the borderline of being a great center. He still has room to grow. I love what they did for us going to get Sandro Mamu from the Toronto Raptors, a 6'9" stretch forward that can knock down threes. Austin Reeves showed us last year that he has the capability of elevating for us being a playmaker. We saw him when Luka Doncic and LeBron James was sidelined at the beginning of the season. Austin Reeves came in and said, nah, I got this. I got this. We seen a couple 40-point wing dinners, all spicy, all flats. We seen some flirting with triple doubles type action. When it comes to Jason Tatum is a champion. And the one thing I'm always keeping my ears to the street. Since Jason Tatum has arrived in the NBA, he has been going to the conference finals. I was on the bench when he took us and the Cavs to 7 games in the conference finals, when he had one of the best posters of his career when he dunked on LeBron James, but LeBron James walked into Boston ready to get his feet out in Game 7 and came out victorious. When every teammate Jason Tatum has had, when they've departed, they always talk about Jason Tatum and how great of an individual he is, how great of a person he is. We see the relationship is there. It's Jason Tatum always stays solid throughout this process when people are getting traded. Jaylen Brown is no different. And if I'm Jason Tatum, I want to know parts of this either.
We actually don't know what Jason Tatum wants because he's been relatively quiet. But
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's a lot of projection on what we think their relationship is or isn't, and it's unfair to speculate if we don't have hard evidence, right? Like, I think we don't want to get in the way of that. And I don't want to put it on Jason Tatum to step in front of what the Boston Celtics plans are. Maybe Brad Stevens laid out what the plans are, and Tatum said, okay, you know what? I got to rock with it because I'm under contract. And this is like, even in the age of player empowerment, not every player wants to step in and say, hey, I'm going to usurp your authority and not trust your team building, because the Celtics team building at some point has elicited a certain amount of trust. Now, maybe they've burned all that equity with this trade. That remains to be seen, but I can't expect that out of Jason Tatum. What you can say about Luka Doncic is his otherworldly talent demands that he go out there and prove that he's worth everything the Lakers have invested in him. He is a generational talent, a generational player, and he has to at least get the Lakers to compete with the Spurs and Thunder this year.
Look, these guys are 1-2 in pressure, but Jason Tatum, to me, takes in any other world, when you have a team that performs a certain way without you, there is an expectation that when you come back, they're going to be better. That's all it is. The Celtics were the number 2 team in the East. There is now an expectation that when Jason Tatum comes back, they are going to be at least that, or they're going to be people looking at him and wondering why.
yeah, I mean, in his absence last year, Jaylen Brown carried that team. If it looks anything other than what it looked like last year with Jason.
We have breaking news in the Sports Center. Shams Charania reporting the Lakers are trading center DeAndre Ayton to the Wizards for Jaden Hardy and 2 second-round picks. Ayton playing 1 season in L.A., averaging career lows of 12.5 points and 8 rebounds per game. NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins back with us. Perk, the Lakers have been busy. What do you make of their offseason so far?
Well, actually, a lot of people have been having a lot of negative things to say about with the Lakers and Rob Pelinka, the moves that he's made, but I actually applaud it. I got to give him his flowers. If I had to give him a grade, I would give him an A-. When you look at the pieces that he added, in Walker Kessler, one of the best live threat guys in the game. Sandro Mamu. I ain't gonna even try to pronounce his whole name, Jay. We don't have enough damn time in this segment for me to even start. But they added shooting, they add perimeter play. Offensively, they're gonna be a juggernaut. They might be the best offensive team in the league. I'm picking them to go and win the West, but they're gonna be on the banana peel when it comes to your NBA career. You are a former #1 overall pick. The Phoenix Suns, they gave up to have a level of accountability, because right now you have other on the banana peel when it comes to your NBA career. You are a former #1 overall pick. The Phoenix Suns, they gave up on you. The Portland Trail Blazers gave up on you. They had a better season when you left. And now all of a sudden, the Los Angeles Lakers saying, we want no parts of you whatsoever. And now you're going to the Wizards. He has to adjust his attitude, adjust himself, hold himself accountable. If not, We could possibly see DeAndre Ayton, and this being his last stop.
Whoa, okay. We'll keep an eye on that. Hey, Perk, speaking of former Lakers, let's play a game of LeBron fill in the blank, all right? Now, you already told us that Philly would be the 1 seed in the East with LeBron, but let's talk about some other potential suitors. Fill in the blank. If the Cavaliers add LeBron, Cleveland will be the blank seed in the East.
The number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. When you talk about adding LeBron James to the mix, a guy that could take over the game in the fourth quarter, a guy that's going to bring championship experience, heart, toughness, grit, accountability, another coach on the floor is something what the Cavs lack, and we saw that in the conference finals. If you add him just to this roster, they should be favored the number 1 seed coming out of the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference.
All right, fill in the blank. If the Heat add LeBron to their roster alongside Giannis and Bam, Miami will be the blank seed in the East.
I would say the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. There's still a few areas that they would have to address. I would have to see what it would look like with the whole Giannis Bam the whole Giannis Bam and LeBron combination. Meaning that they would have the front court play. They would be one of the better defensive teams in the league. But at the age of 41. How much would you really want LeBron James being ball dominant? Like how much pressure? I don't think he wants that amount of pressure or that amount of wear and tear on his body through an 82-game season and trying to win 16 games in the postseason to win the NBA championship.
Okay, fair. Last one, fill in the blank. If the Warriors sign LeBron to play with Steph Curry and re-sign Draymond Green, Golden State will be the blank seed in the West.
They will be top 4. They will be top 4. Listen. I can't put them ahead of the Spurs. I'm damn sure not putting them ahead of Oklahoma City. I can't put them above the Denver Nuggets. But I could see them at the 4th seed. Right? Too much championship experience over there. Steph Curry last year, although we didn't see a lot of him, he still played at an all-NBA level. He still averaged 26 points per game. Shot 48% from the field. Shot almost 40% from the 3. Kristaps Porzingis, champion. Al Horford, champion. Steve Kerr didn't re-sign with the Warriors, not to continue to try to make championship runs. You add LeBron to the mix, along with him and Steph being able to go out and golf together and having the chemistry that we saw in the Olympics when they won a gold medal. I can't put them no lower than that.
Okay. Kendrick Perkins, appreciate you, bro. Go get that July 4th spread ready and let us know what time we need to be at the house. All right.
LeBron James. He's the biggest free agent still on the market. Shams Charania reporting that the 76ers have joined the Warriors, Cavaliers, and Heat, and likely a few more teams in pursuing the 22-time All-Star. LeBron decided to return for a 24th season, but told the Lakers he was moving on after 8 years in purple and gold. Hello, world. We now welcome in NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins. And Perk, Rich Paul said the Sixers have LeBron's attention now with all the additions that they made to their roster. So should LeBron James join Philly?
Philly should definitely be their number 1 option. They should be the front runner. If I'm LeBron James and I'm looking at what the Philadelphia 76ers are doing right now, first of all, they got Daryl Morey out the way, so now they have some type of structure that's going on. And then they go out and they make a trade and give up Paul George and bring back a top 10 player in Jaylen Brown that's a champion that knows how to win. When you look at the perimeter play that they have right now, Tyrese Maxey, one of the best drive to the basket guys in the league. BJ Edgecombe, he's going to continue to take a rise and continue to elevate and get better. And then you look at the signings that they had, going out and getting Dean Wade from the Cavs, right? A guy that's 6'8", 6'9", can stretch the floor. Outside of that, you go and get Anthony Simons. I mean, the Philadelphia 76ers should look like eye candy to LeBron James and should be leading the charge.
All right, so as for the guy that they traded for in Jaylen Brown that you brought up, he spoke for the first time since being traded on his stream. Take a listen.
Boston, they packed me up, my boy. God. Out of there. There's a bunch of emotions. I'm still processing everything, so give me some time. But I'm also looking forward to what's to come next. I will say there was definitely a message being sent. and that message was received. I wasn't thrilled with the amount of respect that was showed during this process. You know, I did feel like it was a lack of respect. At one point it was fine, and out of nowhere it just went left. I definitely think there's more to it. It definitely is more to it. I know Brad is getting a lot of the criticism, but you know, I just wish that more to it could have been explained. I just wish that they had the respect to just tell me exactly what it was, and I would have understood, and I would have respected that. I'm losing no sleep. All these people attacking my character, saying intelligence is a disease, or I'm the 7th best player, or I'm not marketable, and they have these anonymous sources because it goes against like the typical mainstream approach. Look, it's an outdated system. It's an outdated system that needs to be updated. Don't shoot the messenger. Chat, where the Sixers fans at? Give me a Philly cheesesteak right now.
Ooh, hoo, hoo. All right, Perk, so you heard it. Is Brown right in saying that he was disrespected by Boston?
He was, and he should come back with a chip on his shoulder. But let me say this: the statement was very clear. Like, the communication was there. It wasn't voiced, but they made it clear that, hey, Jason Tatum is our guy, and you're not. And so we're not afraid of you. We're going to ship you in the same conference to a division rival, and we'll catch you in traffic. Now, does Jaylen Brown make the 76ers better? Absolutely. Did Brad Stevens, drop the ball in the Giannis trade and the way that he lost that to Pat Riley in the Miami Heat? Yes. Does Brad Stevens look dumb as hell right now for trading Jaylen Brown and getting back Paul George? Absolutely. But on the flip side of that, they don't owe you nothing, Jaylen Brown, to be honest with you. They don't owe you any communication. The communication is that Jason Tatum is our guy. We're going into the future with him leading the franchise. Thank you for everything that you've done, but we don't think that you're worth the money that we're going to have to continue to pay you.
Whew. Perk, that was so good. We're going to get more on the Eastern Conference for you, so just stick around a little bit. All right, Jay?
Yeah, Scooby, let's look at the odds to come out of the East next season, brought to you by DraftKings. The defending champion Knicks still with the best odds in the conference, followed by the Celtics after trading Jaylen Brown away for Paul George. Brown and the Sixers are third, followed by the Pistons and a tie for fifth between Giannis's Miami Heat and Kawhi's Toronto Raptors, and tried telling all that to someone a couple months ago. All right, back with Kendrick Perkins now. Perk, who should be the favorite to come out of the East?
I mean, look, the 76ers and the Toronto Raptors are right there. They should be at the top, but I'm not going to disrespect Big Body Brunson and the New York Knicks, because although they lost Mitchell Robinson, they still have their core group and their main pieces intact. And they also re-signed Landry Shamet, which was a huge part on why they were able to go and win the NBA championship. So I'm not going to disrespect them, but I will say that the Raptors and the 76ers are on their asses like back pockets. The East has gotten better. The East has gotten stronger. It's no more the Western Conference is the top dog. No, these two conferences have balanced themselves out. By the way, Jay, no one is talking about the Indiana Pacers. They're coming. Tyrese Halliburton being available. They went and got Big Zubac from the Clippers. Pascal Siakam had an all-star year last year. They're going to be right in the thick of things. And by the way, I love the signing of Kelly Oubre Jr., that he's going to be a major piece for them as well. The East is loaded, but I would have the 76ers and the Raptors right there up there behind the Knicks.
Those Pacers, by the way, the 8th best odds to come out of the East right now.
Back in, the NBA offseason has delivered thus far. Teams, well, they can't sign players until July 6th, but the negotiating window is open, and oh, it is wild. While we wait on players like Jalen Duren, James Harden, and LeBron James, let's talk about the players who have new deals and ask the question, boom or bust. Guys, this is in honor of the fireworks that we hope to see tomorrow, but I know inevitably will be going off in the middle of the night tonight. But alas, we continue. Sam Quinn, John Gonzalez here with us talking some NBA, and let's start with the Lakers. Austin Reeves signing a 4-year, $185 million deal. John, you're calling this a boom. Why?
Yeah, happy 4th of July to the two of you, everybody at home, everybody in the control room. Yeah, this is a boom. This is an obvious one. This is the Lakers wanted to bring back Austin Reeves. It was always going to be about Luka and Austin Reeves. And you mentioned that big money contract that he got with the player option on the back end. The most money an undrafted player has ever gotten in NBA history, and he earned it. He went from an undrafted player to the back end of the rotation, to part of the rotation, to a starter, to just a critical piece for that franchise. So I love it for him. I love it for the Lakers. I'm not super crazy about the other moves that the Lakers have made this offseason, where they decided to tie up a lot of money in draft capital to get Walker Kessler. They bring in Quentin Grimes, Sandro Mamukelashvili. The bench, I'm not crazy about. They just moved off of DeAndre Ayton. That's all fine. But in terms of Austin Reeves and locking him down with Luka and making that a two-man show, those two guys, along with LeBron last year, looked really good. Now LeBron's gone, so you're going to ask for more from Austin Reeves. But it was always headed this way, where he was going to get the contract. He wanted to stay in Los Angeles. This is a really good fit for him. I'm not sure that the Lakers are contenders. They're pretty far down the list, actually. When you look at it, they're like 14th, middle of the pack in terms of betting odds to win it all. But they're thrilled that Austin Reeves is staying.
Yeah, if this was a pure Lakers segment, we went move by move, we'd find some busts on there. But alas, we're going to hop around the league and go to Trae Young, who re-signs with the Wizards for 4 years, $212 million. Sam, in particular, it's 2 years, $19 million. Why do you consider this a bust?
Yeah, the Lakers have a bit of a tendency, especially with their smaller contracts, their kind of lottery ticket deals, to really target guys basically based on points per game. I go back to 2021 when they decided that they would rather have Kendrick Nunn and Talen Horton-Tucker than Alex Caruso. This is not that bad, but their spending resources were very, very limited after getting Walker Kessler, bringing in Quentin Grimes, Sandro Mamukelashvili. They didn't have that much left to work with. I found it very strange that they targeted somebody in Colin Sexton, who is not at all a defensive player. I've always believed there's a defensive player in there somewhere. He has the physical tools. It has never manifested in the NBA. This is somebody who should be coming off of the bench as a great scoring sixth man. That's kind of the last thing that the Lakers need. They have all the shot creation in the world. They just so badly need perimeter defense. And it strikes me as very strange that they would give up some of their very, very little spending capital left over after everything else they did on a guy who's basically all offense.
Fair questions to ask there. It is not lost on me that all the busts have come from Sam and all the booms have come from John, but I think we're about to change it here with the Bulls bringing in former Heat guard Norman Powell. He's fresh off an all-star season in Miami, averaging nearly 22 points over the last 2 seasons. But John, time for you to get negative. This is a bust.
Yeah, and I love Norm Powell. And Sam and I have done, I don't know, a million of these hits talking about Norm Powell and where was Norm going to go. And both of us, every time we talked about it almost, said, well, he should either stay with the Heat, or he could team up with Giannis, and they could certainly use his shooting. And as you mentioned, he's coming off an all-star season. Or the Pistons would be great. The Pistons would need exactly what Norm Powell could offer. I have a hard time, I'm struggling to understand why the Bulls would want Norm Powell, or why Norm Powell would want the Bulls. He's 33 years old. From the Bulls' perspective, he's fading a little bit. And they're miles away from being contenders. This is the kind of piece that you bring in when you're like, okay, this is somebody that we could really use to sort of level up. There are 10 teams, easily 11 teams ahead of the Bulls in the pecking order. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They didn't make the play-in. They're not going to do it this year either. And Norm Powell's not going to be the difference maker. And then if you're Norm Powell, back into your career-ish, right, 33, not that long, not that much left in his career, don't you want to play for a contender? I mean, you could have stuck around with the Heat. You could have gone potentially to the Pistons. You could have found maybe a different spot. I'm having a hard time understanding why this works for either side. I don't think it does. It's a bust.
2 years, $45 million is what Norm has added here with this new contract. Sam, John, we appreciate you guys. You know you're putting in the work during this NBA offseason that just will not slow down. You're looking at the odds to win the NBA Finals. Spurs, an ever so slight favorite over West Coast. The Thunder, you got Knicks and Celtics after them, and some longer shots.
It is finally over. After weeks of speculation involving the Cavaliers, the Heat, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, and briefly even the Sixers, the LeBron James free agency saga appears to have found its ending. And it is the one that the Warriors have been engineering since Draymond Green voluntarily walked away from $27.7 million in guaranteed money. LeBron James is going to Golden State. And while the greatest player of his era prepares to join the franchise that was once his greatest rival, the Los Angeles Lakers are still trying to figure out how to plug the defensive hole Marcus Smart left behind, how to afford Jonathan Kuminga without any cap space remaining, whether a trade with the Clippers for a player Doncic already knows from Dallas can be completed before someone else takes him off the board, and how to process the news that Rui Hachimura, who shot 56.9% from 3 in the playoffs, just signed with San Antonio. Jalen Duren had a second meeting with the Lakers. Summer League happened. James Worthy is not happy. Carmelo Anthony has something to say about Walker Kessler. And Stephen A. Smith is back with another take about this front office that is going to make the comments section absolutely lose its mind. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get into it. Let's confirm what multiple sources are now indicating, because the reporting has crystallized in a specific direction over the past 24 hours. Golden State is the destination. ESPN's reporting on the Warriors' off-season planning, combined with the specific financial maneuvering that has been underway since Draymond Green voluntarily declined his $27.7 million player option, points unmistakably toward a James to Golden State outcome that would create one of the most star-studded rosters in Western Conference history. The Warriors' pitch is specific and has been articulated clearly by multiple reporters. They can clear the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, $15.1 million, by moving Moses Moody. They have Kristaps Porzingis re-signed at 2 years and $40 million. They have Al Horford returning on 2 years and $14 million. They have DeAnthony Melton, who also declined his option but is expected to re-sign on a new deal. And now, with Green taking a reduction from his previous salary to create the structural room needed, the framework for a 2-year deal for James in the range of $25 to $30 million annually has become functionally real rather than aspirational. The Sixers entered this conversation earlier in the week following the Jaylen Brown trade from Boston and exited it nearly as quickly. CBS Sports reporting confirmed the Sixers reached out to James' camp given the gap that acquiring Brown while sending Paul George created at the power forward spot. But the financial constraints in Philadelphia are severe. They have roughly $6 million remaining from the mid-level exception after signing Dean Wade, making a legitimate offer to James essentially impossible without significant salary manipulation. The clutch sports connection between James and Tyrese Maxey that fueled the initial speculation is real and documented. But relationships do not override math in salary cap negotiations. The Sixers' interest was genuine and brief. It has passed. The Cavaliers and their sign-and-trade mechanism involving Jarrett Allen was the most basketball logical of all the scenarios discussed, and the one that would have directly benefited the Lakers by delivering their most needed asset in return. But Cleveland's situation is complicated by the commitments they have made to James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and the surrounding roster. Harden declined his option specifically to renegotiate a new deal with Cleveland, signaling the Cavaliers are in win-now mode with their existing core, rather than restructuring everything around a returning legend. The Allen for LeBron swap would have cost Cleveland one of their most important players at the position they least want to weaken. The math never fully resolved in Cleveland's favor. The basketball case for the Warriors is the one that survives the longest scrutiny. James knows Kerr from the Paris Olympics. He knows Curry from 4 consecutive finals meetings that defined an entire era of this sport. He knows Green from the same Olympic setting and from a relationship built across years of genuine competition. The familiarity runs deep in every direction. The specific role James would play, the power forward in a lineup featuring Curry, Green, and whatever configuration the Warriors build around those three, is a role that suits his age, his intelligence, and his desire to make an impact without needing to be the primary offensive engine on every single possession. The concern that ESPN's pros and cons breakdown identified is also worth taking seriously. The Western Conference is expected to run through Oklahoma City and San Antonio specifically, and a Warriors roster featuring James, Curry, Green, and various supporting pieces is an aging construction, competing against programs built around 22 and 23-year-olds at the absolute physical peak of their athletic careers. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is 28, Victor Wembanyama is 22. Dylan Harper just finished his rookie season. The Thunder and Spurs are not going to be intimidated by narrative alone, and the physical demands of a playoff series against either program would strain a roster without real youth and athleticism at multiple positions. What matters, from a Lakers perspective, setting aside the basketball analysis of what Golden State just became, is that this chapter is now genuinely closing. LeBron James will wear purple and gold one more time in a tribute video and nowhere else. The 8 seasons, the championship, the scoring record, and the history all remain. What happens next in Los Angeles is entirely up to Doncic, Reeves, Kessler, and whatever Rob Pelinka does with the remaining roster spots still available through trades and minimum contracts. The era is done. The work continues. The Jalen Duren situation has not resolved, and the most recent reporting reveals that the competition for his services is more complex than a simple Lakers offer sheet would suggest. Duren had his second meeting with the Lakers this week, a follow-up to the initial conversation that opened the free agency negotiating period. The fact that a second meeting happened is itself significant. It means both parties found enough of value in the first conversation to continue, rather than either side concluding that the fit or the financial framework made further engagement pointless. What Duren is hearing from the Lakers is the obvious pitch. Luka Doncic wants you specifically. The offensive environment in Los Angeles is the best available complement to your pick-and-roll finishing ability, and the organization is committed to building around youth in a way Detroit has not consistently demonstrated. The complication is Sacramento, and it changes the entire dynamic of how a potential Duren transaction would need to be structured. According to multiple reports, the Kings met with Duren with the specific intent of structuring a sign and trade out of Detroit, a mechanism that would give the Pistons an asset return rather than forcing them to simply decide whether to match an outside offer sheet. If Sacramento and Detroit agree to the framework of a sign and trade, the Lakers cannot simply submit their own offer sheet and wait 48 hours. They would need to compete with an offer that Detroit finds more attractive than what Sacramento is proposing, or structure a competing trade of their own. The Detroit situation, which has been characterized throughout this entire offseason by the phrase "will match anything," appears more genuinely uncertain than the organization's public posture suggested. Duren met with 2 outside teams. Sacramento structured a sign and trade proposal. A player who genuinely wanted to stay and whose team genuinely wanted to keep him at any cost would not typically need to travel for multiple free agency meetings. The friction is real, even if its ultimate resolution remains unclear. From the Lakers' specific position, the second meeting matters because it keeps the door open in a situation where every other center option on their board has already closed. Hartenstein re-signed with Oklahoma City. Claxton went to Chicago. Kessler is already on the roster. Robinson signed with the Celtics on a 3-year deal. The cupboard of realistic centers available through any mechanism outside of a Duren acquisition has been effectively stripped. If this meeting leads to a trade proposal that Detroit finds acceptable, it dramatically changes what this roster looks like next season. If Duren ends up staying in Detroit through whatever mechanism the Pistons choose, the Lakers are committing to Kessler, Mamukelashvili, and Ayton as their entire front court rotation. That is not nothing. It is also not what Luka Doncic asked for when he named Duren specifically as one of his 2 preferred center targets. The Jonathan Kuminga pursuit is generating the most attention among available wing options, but the move that might actually solve the defensive problem most directly and most efficiently is a different name. One the Lakers have been exploring in trade conversations with their crosstown rival. Derrick Jones Jr. plays for the Los Angeles Clippers. He is on an expiring contract. He is 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. He defended his way to multiple all-defensive team votes during his career. He played alongside Luka Doncic in Dallas during the 2024 finals run and understands precisely how Doncic's system functions from the inside. And the Clippers, who just traded Kawhi Leonard back to Toronto and are clearly in the early stages of a roster rebuild around Brandon Ingram and their incoming young players, have every incentive to move an expiring veteran for a center who fits their new timeline better. The trade concept that has been circulating is DeAndre Ayton going to the Clippers in exchange for Derrick Jones Jr. Both players are on expiring contracts at comparable values. Ayton at $8.1 million and Jones at roughly $10 million creates a $2 million differential that the Lakers can absorb given their current position. The Clippers need a center for their rebuild around Ingram. The Lakers need a defensive wing who can guard the best perimeter scorer on opposing teams without requiring a complex scheme built around hiding him. The specific reason this trade matters beyond just the position it fills is Doncic's familiarity with how Jones operates. When you play alongside someone in a Western Conference Finals environment, you develop a basketball shorthand that takes years to build with a new teammate. Jones already knows where Doncic wants cutters positioned when the double team arrives. He knows when to drift to the corner for the swing pass and when to cut back door. He knows which defensive assignments Doncic needs relieved of before fatigue compounds into a liability. That institutional knowledge has real value in a playoff context, and it arrives at a price that does not require the front office to execute any creative financial maneuvering. The outstanding question is whether both organizations can agree on the specific structure before one or both players sign or get traded elsewhere. The Clippers have already made one significant move by shipping Kawhi to Toronto. They are clearly operating with a plan for this offseason rather than simply reacting. If their plan includes Ayton as a bridge center for the year it takes to develop their young core, this trade happens efficiently. If the Clippers have a different front court solution in mind, Ayton stays in Los Angeles on his expiring deal and Jones finds a different home before the market closes. The Jonathan Kuminga situation continues developing with real competitive intensity, and the Lakers' specific problem in this pursuit has become considerably clearer over the past 72 hours. Multiple reports confirm 4 organizations are actively pursuing Kuminga: the Lakers, the Cavaliers, the Bucks, and Atlanta's lingering interest in a possible return. The Hawks declined his $24.3 million option, but front offices around the league understand that option declinations are sometimes negotiating tactics rather than definitive separations. Atlanta has not fully exited this conversation. The Lakers' problem is straightforward and was created by the decisions made last Wednesday. They exhausted their available cap space on Kessler, Grimes, Mamukelashvili, and Sexton, leaving the room exception as their only remaining financial tool for external free agent additions. The room exception currently sits in the range of $5 to $6 million. Kuminga, coming off a season where he averaged 12.2 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 2.3 assists on 46% shooting, with 4 other NBA teams competing for his services, is not signing for the room exception. He is not signing for anything close to the room exception. The stretch provision mechanism that ESPN's Dave McMenamin confirmed the Lakers are exploring creates the space needed to make a real offer. Stretching Jared Vanderbilt's $12.2 million contract distributes that salary hit over additional future years while freeing immediate cap room in the present. Stretching Ayton's $8.1 million option works similarly at a smaller scale. Neither move is free. You pay the salary either way, just on a different timeline, but the immediate cap flexibility created allows the front office to extend an offer that actually reflects Kuminga's market value rather than hoping he takes a hometown discount to join the best offensive system available to him. The basketball case for Kuminga in Los Angeles centers on the same argument made throughout this offseason. His athleticism allows him to switch defensive assignments that neither Doncic nor Reeves can guard, and Doncic's playmaking creates offensive opportunities that Kuminga's athleticism and finishing ability are specifically designed to convert. The three-point shooting concerns are real. 33 to 36% from 3 on consistent volume over 3 consecutive seasons is not a trajectory that has resolved into elite spacing. But a wing who can defend, finish above the rim, and create off the dribble in a secondary role behind 2 primary ball handlers does not need to be a 40% three-point shooter to provide genuine two-way value. Whether the Cavaliers, who have cap space available through different mechanisms, or Milwaukee outbid the Lakers before the stretch provision can be executed, is the race happening right now. The front office is moving, but the competition is not waiting. It is done. Rui Hachimura signed with the San Antonio Spurs, and the full weight of what that means for this Lakers roster deserves honest acknowledgement rather than the casual dismissal it has received in some coverage. The specific prediction that Sportsnaut's analysts made weeks ago that the Spurs would sign Hachimura proved exactly correct. San Antonio used the full $15 million mid-level exception to make the deal happen, offering both the money and the immediate championship opportunity that the Lakers simply could not match simultaneously in a summer where Walker Kessler consumed the available cap space. Hachimura chose to be part of Victor Wembanyama's championship vehicle over staying in an organization that, however much it valued him, could not generate the financial offer or the basketball clarity to make the decision obvious. The numbers he leaves behind deserve to be stated one final time, because they tell the story of exactly what just walked out the door. Hachimura shot 44.3% from three during the regular season this past year. His career playoff three-point percentage of 50.8% is an NBA record. In the specific postseason moments where this team needed a player to provide spacing and secondary scoring without demanding possessions or special design, Hachimura was one of the most efficient options in the entire league. What the Lakers are replacing that production with is Sandro Mamukilashvili at 38.9%, a capable stretch big who will provide real value, but whose playoff body of work is not comparable to what Hachimura demonstrated under genuine pressure. The difference between 58% playoff shooting and 38% regular season shooting is not a minor efficiency gap. It is the difference between a player who elevates under pressure and a player who is still unproven in those environments. The Spurs, meanwhile, have added a 28-year-old wing who shoots at a historically elite postseason level to a roster already featuring Wembanyama, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, and the returning Harrison Barnes. San Antonio just made themselves more dangerous in the regular season, more reliable in the playoffs, and more complete at the forward position that their young core was missing. They used Hachimura's departure from Los Angeles to directly improve against the Lakers specifically, in the Western Conference, where these two teams will share the same playoff bracket. Every game Hachimura makes a corner three in April and May next season will serve as a reminder of a retention that was not executed before the window closed. The Lakers opened Summer League play in Las Vegas against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the results matter more than Summer League results typically do given how many genuine roster questions remain open on this specific team. Cameron Carr was the headliner, and the early returns justified the enthusiasm surrounding his selection. His combination of length and athleticism showed up immediately in ways that were visible even within the limitations of Summer League competition. The 7-foot wingspan creating disruption on the defensive side of the ball before plays fully developed. The footwork on pull-up jumpers reflecting genuine skill rather than simply the physical advantages that carry players through college basketball. What evaluators will need to see across multiple games is whether the defensive intensity sustains through full game fatigue rather than appearing in short bursts during the highest attention stretches. Adu Tiero is the player whose Summer League performance carries the most direct consequence for the regular season roster. His athletic tools have never been in question. The explosiveness, the length, the ability to finish in transition at angles most wings cannot access. The question this Summer League needs to answer is whether his spot-up shooting is reliable enough at NBA range for JJ Redick to trust him in a rotation that will need perimeter spacing around Kessler's paint presence. Early returns on that specific question were mixed rather than definitively positive or negative. Chris Manon, the defensive specialist who earned all-defense honors in the G League last season, represents the closest thing to a proven answer for the point-of-attack defensive position that Marcus Smart previously owned. His Summer League debut offered a first real look at whether his disruptive, instinctive defensive approach translates from the G League environment to NBA speed possessions. The Lakers' minimum salary defensive solution plan depends heavily on whether someone on this roster earns genuine trust from JJ Redick through exactly the kind of performance Summer League exists to evaluate. The broader takeaway from opening night is not about any single player, but about the collective identity this roster is trying to develop. Last season's Lakers were a team built around proven veteran contributors with defined roles and understood limitations. This version of the team is younger, less proven, and built around a ceiling that requires health, development, and time to actually realize. Summer League is where that transition becomes visible for the first time. And what was visible in the opening game suggested a team with genuine upside and real questions still attached to almost every name not named Doncic or Reeves. Three voices from the basketball world beyond the front office weighed in on the current state of the Lakers this week. And together they tell a genuinely interesting story about how this roster's construction is being received across different generations and perspectives. Carmelo Anthony addressed Walker Kessler specifically, and his take was more nuanced than the dismissive noise surrounding the acquisition might lead anyone to expect from a former volume scorer known more for offensive production than defensive construction. Carmelo pointed specifically to the rim protection and offensive rebounding that Kessler's 7'2" frame provides, acknowledging that the specific deficiency he addresses was real and documented, and that the Lakers ranking 29th in offensive rebounds last season was not a problem that could be solved through any mechanism other than acquiring a legitimate rebounder. Carmelo's perspective is informed by years of playing in systems where a dominant center changed what was available to every other player on the floor. He is not ready to declare the acquisition a mistake. James Worthy came from a different place entirely. The three-time champion and Showtime Lakers legend was not enthusiastic about what he observed across the offseason, and his specific concern went beyond any individual signing or trade. Worthy's critique centered on continuity, the pattern of roster turnover that has defined the franchise across multiple consecutive summers, the difficulty of building championship-level chemistry when the core supporting cast changes substantially every offseason, and the broader question of whether this version of the Lakers has the organizational patience to let a young roster develop together rather than continuing to make reactive changes that reset the chemistry timeline every 12 months. As someone who played alongside the same core for years while winning 3 championships, Worthy understands better than most what sustained organizational commitment to a specific group actually produces. Stephen A. Smith returned with a new angle of criticism after his 3 white dudes comments generated the viral moment of the week. His latest critique, somewhat distinct from the racial framing of his earlier take, focused on the organizational process under Rob Pelinka, specifically the documented pattern of overpaying for players, allowing key contributors to leave for cheaper deals elsewhere, and executing trades that send future assets to other organizations while bringing back players whose contribution window may not extend to when those picks would have conveyed. The Kennard departure for Phoenix at $13 million, followed immediately by replacing him with more expensive and less proven options, was the specific example Smith returned to most pointedly. What connects all 3 voices, different as they are in perspective and tone, is a shared uncertainty about whether this roster has the specific combination of defensive identity, chemistry, and playoff-proven contributors to challenge the Western Conference's genuine title contenders. Carmelo sees the pieces. Worthy sees the missing continuity. Stephen A. sees the organizational pattern. The championship conversation will not be settled by any of them. It will be settled by Walker Kessler's health, Luka Doncic's hamstring, and what happens in a building in late April when the margins narrow to their smallest. LeBron James is going to Golden State. Jalen Duren had a second meeting, and the situation remains genuinely open. Derrick Jones Jr. is available and represents the cleanest defensive solution on the board. Jonathan Kuminga requires creative financial engineering that has not been executed yet. Rui Hachimura is a Spur now, and his first-round three-point shooting record went with him to San Antonio. Summer League started, and the questions are the same questions they were before the games, just with slightly more visual evidence attached to them. Carmelo sees the potential. Worthy sees the missing continuity. Stephen A. sees the pattern. And the front office is still making phone calls. The window to build this roster correctly before training camp is narrowing. Every day that passes without solving the defensive wing position is another day the team opens October without the identity that championship caliber rosters require before the first real game is played. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Every development breaks here the moment it happens.